So a couple weeks ago, I realized that I'm a millionaire, and I'd actually become a millionaire about a year prior, and I didn't realize it. And I'm not telling you this to brag whatsoever, but rather just show you that I am living, breathing proof that you can do it too. 4 or 5 years ago, I was your average college kid in a fraternity with no direction in my life whatsoever. I knew that I didn't want to work a 9 to 5 and follow the normal route, but I didn't know how I was going to get out of it. I didn't know the steps to take, and I would see all of these people making money online and driving around in Lambos, or maybe it was like a BMW i8 at the time. It was like the fucking hot supercar for the gurus. And I'd look at them and it pissed me off because I knew that they couldn't be that much smarter than me. And obviously some of them were scammers and grifters and they couldn't actually afford the lifestyle that they were portraying, but I knew that it couldn't all be fake. Like, there has to be some level of truth if all of these people are making all of this money and I'm sitting in college and my fraternity, like, what the fuck, man? Like, what do I not know? What am I doing wrong? And I reached this point towards the end of my freshman year of college where, like, I was closest to depressed as I've ever been in my entire life. When I was growing up, I was like super obsessed with basketball, so that always gave me direction. I was like fully convinced that I was going to the league, even though I'm fucking 5'10" and obviously not the most athletic person in the world. But that gave me direction, that gave me somewhere to go, something to do when I woke up every day. Like, I have a mission. And towards the end of high school, I realized that I wasn't gonna play Division I basketball, and I was just kind of depleted at that point. And I was like, I don't want to play in college. So I convinced myself, all right, I'll just try out the normal path. I'll go to a more fun college, enjoy my time there, and we'll see what happens. And I did just that. And then I get there and, like, I joined the fraternity. I'm living that normal average life and I'm having a lot of fun on the outside. It's like obviously objectively fun looking. But there was that voice inside of me that just knew this wasn't my path. And I knew that I could do more with my life. I knew that I could get out of it, but I didn't know where to start. So that grew like this resentment in me and this bitterness. And I remember I was just like kind of meaner to some people around me, and I don't think I really liked myself at the time. So I reached this stage where I have this like burning desire to work hard, commit to something, take control of my life, because I built that by playing basketball growing up. I knew what it was like to fully dedicate every waking hour to a singular mission. And that's when I would feel most alive. That's when I feel the best, is when I have that end goal in mind and I have some direction that I'm going in. And towards the end of my freshman year of college, COVID happens and we get sent home for the next 6 months, and I'm like sitting in my childhood bedroom just fucking lost. Like, I tried little side hustles towards the end of high school, and then I kind of just put all of that away. When I got to college, I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna have fun and be a normal frat bro, and I'll figure out what happens after that. But now I was forced to kind of sit there with my thoughts, and I had all of this free time, obviously, because it's COVID and you're not hanging out with anybody. And on January 1st, 2020, I wrote this in my journal entry. I said, never in my life have I felt this lost. I've always had something that I'm working toward with an end goal in sight. This made it easy to get up every day and spend most of my time doing things that I thought would bring me closer to that goal. But what happens now? I closed my Shopify store, I haven't posted on my YouTube channel in months, and I'm sure as hell not going to the NBA. I spend hours of my day sitting on Instagram and watching videos, hoping to find something that will spark my next hobby, the one I truly excel at, and wake up every day ready to work. You just gotta try shit, as Gary Vee would tell me, but that doesn't seem to be my problem. I've started a YouTube channel, a clothing brand, e-com business, and much more. I can't seem to find the one thing that I'm not only passionate about, but that can bring me all of the other things I want in life. Obviously, everyone wants a lot of money, great friends, and the ability to travel, but what happens? Most people end up taking the normal route. They work their way up in a job they hate, make shit money while their bosses get rich, and even if they do well enough to make a good living, they're still taking orders from someone else. Now, I'm not hating on these people, as it really takes a lot of willpower to get up and do something that you don't want to do every day to provide for your family, but at the end of the day, you only get one life. Wouldn't it be a waste to spend it not doing something you love? So if that sounds familiar to you, like, that's the exact position that I was in. That was like my inner monologue, like screaming at me, telling me to take a different route, like do something, find that next thing that you can kind of put your all into and be obsessed with. And because I had so much time during COVID, I started to build up that obsession again. I began in videography, just like doing freelance videos and making videos for fun, and I was making like some money doing that, nothing real, but I started to get my feet wet in the entrepreneur space a little bit, and I started to watch all of these videos of, it was like guys like Jason Capital and Gary Vee at the time, and I was like, these guys are legit, like they're proof that this works. And then I kind of dipped my toe into drop shipping and SMMA and all these other business models. I just started to kind of brainwash myself into believing it works, and I started to understand how money works. I think when you first start out just wanting to make money, you have to first understand that you need to offer people something that they find valuable. So if you can learn skills, or if you can learn something that makes you valuable, people will pay you in exchange for it. So like doing videography helped me kind of understand that. And then fast forward a little bit and I get into SMMA. So this was like your typical lead gen marketing agency where you find some local kind of boomer business, you partner up with them, well, you get them on a retainer for, call it $1 to $3 grand a month. And you run their Facebook ads, you help them get more leads, they close more deals. So this is like the very basic premise of a service-based business. And at first, obviously, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just watching videos on YouTube, trying to figure it out. And I started to kind of get my feet wet. I got a couple like free trial clients. I got like my uncle's car dealership, and then my mom's friend was a real estate agent. So I started working with them and just started to get some like actual reps, even though it wasn't really paying me anything. At least I was now kind of throwing paint at the wall and some stuff was sticking. And then I went back to school. This is right after COVID kind of ends. I go back to college and I spent what was like almost my last $5,000, almost all the money I had at the time, on a coaching program that was like geared for SMMA. And I don't know why I did it, other than it was like almost pure impulse. Like the guys that I bought the program from, I hadn't consumed nearly any of their content. I found them on Facebook actually, and I just knew they seemed credible. They seemed like they were just guys like me who figured it out. So I booked a sales call. I get on a few days later. I remember even on that sales call, he told me the price was $5K, and I went into it kind of expecting that it would be like $2 or $3K, and I give him some objection. I'm like, you know, just let me think about it. And the closer looks at me and he's like, Ben, what do you like about the program? And then I go on what I like about it, and he sells me on the spot. So I get in there, and now just because I had spent that money, obviously the program was good, but because I had spent that money and made that commitment to myself, now there was no backing out. Now it's like, brother, you have to fucking do this. Like, you kind of just, you got close to burning the boats here. So I continue on the SMMA journey. I'm showing up to the calls, I'm learning everything that I can, and I decided that I'm gonna work with local basketball trainers as clients, which wasn't the best niche at the time, but because I grew up playing basketball, I was like, yo, this is sick. Like, there's a lot of basketball trainers, they all need new clients, and I can run Facebook ads for them and help them scale their business. So I start doing outreach, and at first I was just trying to get anybody that I could. I think I was offering them like a 30-day free trial, and then if it works and it goes well and they want to continue, I'll get them on like $1,000 monthly retainer. And I started getting clients this way. So not long after I actually committed to it and bet on myself, I was making a few grand a month, and then fast forward probably 6 months later, I was making like 5 to 10 grand a month, which at the time, it was life-changing, not only because it's like now enough money to support myself, but I had the conviction. I was like, holy shit, this online business thing does really work. It's not just these fucking fake gurus online that are trying to sell me some dream. This works. Like, if you actually try, if you actually put your all into it, results are possible. This is pretty fucking cool. So I continue with that business for a while, and I'm like still around the 7 to 10K a month range. I drop out of college. I moved to Tulum, Mexico. I was in Tulum the first month, then I was in Playa del Carmen, and then I was in Merida. And that was like a really transformational period for me again, because I went from like having this kind of level of status in a fraternity where, you know, you're surrounded by people all the time, you're talking to people all the time, like life is pretty good, it's fun, it's a very fun environment. To now, I had one friend that was living with me in Mexico, and we're just like working all day. We don't really know anybody. We don't go out. I talk to him, and then maybe I'll FaceTime a few friends, and then I'm just trying to build my business and get more clients. So I'm doing that, and this is like a year after now that I started. I'm making 10 to 15K a month just with the local basketball trainer clients, charging them $1,000 a month each. And like, it's working. I now have proof of concept, and I've proved to myself that I can make money. But it's also like, I've been in this for a year. To get to that 10 to 15K range, like I'm working with 10 to 15 clients. I'm dealing with churn all the time. Like, these aren't high level business owners. They're guys that were probably fresh out of college who were like, oh, I'll be a basketball trainer. So there was a lot of headache and complexity that came with that, because I just couldn't help them get results because they weren't really running a sustainable business on their own. So it was kind of like a dumpster fire, but it was kind of working. So it was good, but I reached this point where I was like, okay, my skill set now is exceeding the amount of money that I'm making. What do I do now? I've now become a decent copywriter. I can build funnels, I can script videos, like I have all of these skills, but I don't feel like I'm utilizing it correctly. So I start to think about, all right, all the people around me and all the people that I see online, like, how are they making money? Because I knew they were making a lot more money than I was. They're making tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars monthly, but they're not that much smarter than me or more skilled than me. They just have a better vehicle. Whether they're running an agency and they're working with better clients, or they're selling coaching, they're selling courses, like, those objectively sounded like an easier business model to apply my skill set to. So I was like, okay, if a lot of the people who I know that are making the most money are selling coaching, why don't I just apply my existing skill set that I've now built up in the SMMA world to the coaching space? Like, they make more money, they have more money to pay me, why don't I just pivot that way? This was like a light bulb moment in my head. I felt like I was the guy who fucking invented sliced bread. I was like, I'm a genius. And so now we've reached the beginning of 2022. So this is January 2022. I have my client sheet pulled up here. I made $10,700 this month, but I did it with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 clients. Some of them weren't even paying me. I don't know how I counted them as a client, but it took me 15 clients to make $10,700. So that's when I decided I was gonna start reaching out to people who were selling online basketball training rather than in person, because it's still the basketball training world. I have like, at that point I had a little bit of status in that world because I'd been doing it for a year and like people knew me. Again, I just thought it would be really cool growing up as a basketball player to like build a business in this space. So by the next month, February, I got my first info product client. So this was no longer just your local basketball trainer. This was a guy with a pretty big personal brand who was selling online coaching, and I actually used to watch his content growing up, so that was pretty cool. The way that I closed him is, I remember I was sitting in my room in Mexico, and I saw that he posted on his story like, hey, I'm launching this new offer, and he didn't really have anything built out for it. So I was like, yo, I could totally help with this. Like, he definitely needs help with the copy and the funnels and blah, blah, blah. So I sent him a DM. It was just a probably 30-second voice memo. And I was like, hey, just saw you launch this. I worked with this guy, and this guy. I can help you with blah, blah, blah. Probably less than an hour later, he got back to me, and then I was on a sales call with his business partner a few days later. We started working together about a month after that. So February 2022, I got that first client. And my goal at the time was very simple. I was making roughly 10 to 15K a month with these 15 or so clients. I wanted to replace them with 3 to 5 clients and make the same amount of money. So I figured like that would just be so much less headache if I can replace all 15 clients. I don't have to deal with all this shit and managing all these people and talking to all of them all day. I can just focus on having 3 to 5 really good ones. So originally I was just running paid ads for this client, and I charged him $1,000 monthly retainer plus 10% of the return on ad spend that I generated for him. So if I make him $10,000 from ads and we spend $2,000, then I would get 10% of that $8,000. And that was the first time that I ever offered somebody a rev share deal. And I was like, huh, let's see how this goes. So fast forward 1 month, in March 2022, he paid me $2,351, which was over $1,300 more than anybody else had ever paid me, because it was just $1,000 monthly retainers. And I was like, okay, I've got something here. Like, I need to double down on this info product space. And at the time I was just kind of constricting myself to basketball, but I was like, all right, course sellers are making way more money. Why don't I just work with them? If I fast forward a few months to July 2022, I made $16,200 $290 that month. And I only had 6 paying clients. So I had 6 clients, paid me more money than I was making when I was working with 15 clients. So this was like my eureka moment. I'm like, okay, I cracked the code. I just need to now work with bigger and better clients. I'll keep getting rev shares. And I was offering like email marketing, funnel builds, VSL scripts, like literally anything that I could just to help them make more money, and obviously paid ads as well. And even for that initial client, like I just started to take over more pieces of their business. I started just doing ads, but eventually I replaced their email copywriter. I built them a new funnel. I was running all of the automations on the back end. So as I did that, I started to get a bigger rev share of the entirety of the business rather than just paid ads. And I scaled with him that way. And so now this 6 clients that I have that's paying me about 16 grand a month is kind of a hodgepodge of a bunch of different services that are all like in the info product world. So some of them I have on an email retainer, some of them were a one-time funnel build, and a couple of them I had on a rev share. And I knew that the rev share model was gonna be the way to scale, and if I could just get a few really solid clients, I wouldn't have to worry about as much headache. It wouldn't be as much of a pain in the ass to scale because I don't need to keep acquiring new clients to do so. So now if I fast forward from July to September 2022, my biggest client that month paid me $7,500. That's over half the amount that I was once making with 15 clients. And then fast forward again to December, my biggest client paid me $12,900 on a rev share. I made $31,147 that month with 6 clients. And the thing is, I wasn't that much more skilled or much better than I was when I was making 15 grand a month or 10 grand a month with 15 clients, but the problem was the vehicle. I found a better vehicle, I found a better outlet, and I just applied my skills accordingly. And that was the biggest needle mover. A year later, September 2023, I hit my first $100,000 month. It personally, like, take home profit with just 7 clients. And it's all because I looked at where the money was going. Like, who is making the most money? The fucking course sellers, obviously. That's why they have the Lambos, that's why they're in the Miami penthouses and whatever. Why don't I just work with them? Why don't I just be their right-hand guy? And also just to clarify real quick, at that point I had transitioned out of just working with online basketball trainers. Like I was just working with anybody who was selling info. But I'm telling you all of this not to brag, but rather to prove a few points. I am that same college kid who was lost, who had no direction, who wanted more out of life, and couldn't really figure it out and didn't know if this whole online business thing was real. That was me. Like if that sounds familiar, I was once in your exact shoes. And I would watch people like me on social media and think like, is this guy bullshitting me? Is this really real? And I think most of it, a big part of it was just lack of internal conviction. I knew that it was possible, but I also somewhat doubted myself. I was like, I mean, what if I pick the wrong business model? What if I take the wrong route? What if I buy the wrong course? I had all of these fears, and because it was gonna be a big jump to completely transform my life and get out of what I was doing and get out of this whole like 9-to-5 college route, I'd find ways to talk myself out of it and to talk myself off the ledge so that I wouldn't actually take the jump. But eventually, when I just took baby steps, bro, I did obviously spend the money on the course, but the actions that I had to take were not difficult. It was just staying consistent and not letting myself talk me into a different business model. Oh, this SMMA thing is too hard. Maybe I should try dropshipping instead, or maybe I should do that or that or that. There's endless business models, and if you lack that internal conviction, you can talk yourself out of what you're doing, and then you never fully commit to it. And if you never fully commit to it, you're not gonna find success. So lesson number 1 is there, conviction. You have to believe that it is possible. I'd rather be naively confident that it's gonna work for me rather than skeptical and never try. Because if you never try, you're just gonna end up bitter and you're gonna hate yourself, you're gonna hate your life, you're gonna marry a 4 who you don't even like, and life's gonna fucking suck. And you probably don't want that, okay? So believe in yourself, believe that it's possible, because it is. I am proof, all of my friends here are proof. They're normal fucking kids that are just like you, who figured it out, who actually tried and actually committed. Lesson number 2, there are no shortcuts. You're gonna look for shortcuts. You're gonna look for the next hack or the new model, the new mechanism. Like, everything works, and when people tell you, oh, this is a new business model that's working easier than all of these other ones, like, yes, sometimes that is true, but a lot of the time that's just a marketing angle. Every business is gonna have its pros and cons, and everything can work if you actually commit to it, but if you don't, it's not gonna work for you, and you're gonna be bitter, and you're gonna look at people on social media who are successful, and you're gonna comment, put the fries in the bag, bro, and you're gonna be in your fucking mom's basement and live a miserable life, and you probably don't want that. So stop being a skeptic, but also understand that the shiny new opportunity is really not that shiny. It's not that much better than anything else. Yes, there are different mechanisms and vehicles that have advantages, which is gonna bring me to my next point, but it doesn't matter if you pick the easiest, best business model in the world, it will not work if you don't commit to it. And this leads me to point number 3, which is make it easier on yourself. Like, when I was working with the in-person basketball trainers and trying to stack a bunch of retainers, I picked a really difficult model. And at the time, I'm like this 21-year-old kid who has no real business experience trying to manage a clientele base of 15 people. That was really fucking difficult, especially considering the fact that they didn't have a lot of money. I'm grateful that that's where I started, but looking back, I'm like, okay, I could have just applied that skill set to a better vehicle from the jump. If I knew that everybody was making all this money selling online education and selling courses, why didn't I just start there? And if I did, I probably would have reached success a lot quicker. But because I didn't fully capitalize on like where the money is and what the best opportunity was, it did make it more difficult. And when you think about this, like in 2025, it's still the same deal. Everybody who's making the most money is selling online coaching. Like Iman just bought a part of WAP, which is a platform that allows you to host online courses. Like, it's only growing. So if you're starting out right now, or maybe if you're in an SMMA or you're a closer, like, why not pick the industry where the most people are making the most money? Like, if you can just partner with the info product guys, if you can partner with the course sellers and the personal brands, and you get a 10 to 20 to 30% rev share, that's how you're gonna be able to apply your skill set in the most leveraged way possible. So I wanna leave you with this. If you've watched to this point and you feel that urge in the back of your head, that voice in the back of your head that just like constantly fucking toying with you and telling you, listen, you can get more out of life. You can get all of the things that you want. You can become the person that you want. You can build the dream lifestyle that you want. I know it sounds corny hearing it from me, and you're probably doubting, like, is this kid legit? Is it parents' money? Blah, blah, blah. It does not help you to be skeptical and bitter. I would rather be naive and wrong than skeptical and bitter. If it doesn't work out, what's the worst thing that happens? If you buy a bad course, if you pick the wrong model, at least you're fucking moving. At least you're trying. You're off the sidelines. You're in the game. You're in the arena. I'd rather be in the arena than sit on the sidelines for my entire life. I'm your normal college kid. I just tried something, I figured it out, I committed for 4 years, and now I have my dream life. I have everything that I always wanted, and I am the person that I used to watch on YouTube. Like, I am that exact version of people who I would look at and think, maybe that's not legit, maybe that's all fake. I've become it, and it is real, and it is possible for you, for anybody who's watching this. You just have to actually commit. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, share this with your grandma. Link in the description if you want to work with me directly. Anyway, see you in the next one. Peace.